And you have 30 minutes to complete the entire thing. Good luck, and may the odds ever be in your favor. Yes. Oh yeah, thank you, sorry. Yes, you can, I don't care who you work with. Important thing, you are trying to understand, not just copy from somebody, because if you give me your paper, I'm gonna ask you to explain to me, but then also you might see this at some point later on in the semester, or you might have to do something on your own. So make sure you understand. Okay, 30 minutes, your time starts, once I can find my phone, now. It is Monday, it's my planning period, it's February 6th, I think, I could be wrong. I have about 40 more minutes I was gonna say 30, 40 more minutes before our fourth period begins. My 8A classes today, they are reviewing for their test, which will be on Wednesday. So we are playing Chem Jeopardy, which is based off Jeopardy. I didn't come across, I actually had several versions of a PowerPoint template, and I used one that I found that I liked this weekend, and I created a review for the students. So each of the categories is based off a topic that they will be tested on Wednesday. My B-Day class is on Friday. And actually the review is a little bit harder than what the questions on the test will be, because the test is specifically assessing them on a particular concept. Like, are you able to do this standard that we talked about in class that I had up on the board? Versus the review, I combined, for example, on a particular question, I combined several standards into one question, and so they had to use the skills from all the standards to answer a particular question, which I do have 3 questions like that towards the end to see, hey, can you take everything and put it together? But a majority of the test is assessing, hey, can you do these particular skills? My B-Day classes tomorrow, they will be doing the lab that sorry, I have to think. They will, that's the only thing about AB rotating schedule. Like, sometimes you have to think, where am I at? My B-Day classes tomorrow, they will be doing the lab that my A-Day classes did on Friday. Then they will review on Thursday, and then they take their tests on Friday. Other than that, it was pretty great day so far. My students, they played in teams, and then I just went around group by group, and they got to pick a category and a point amount total, and they kept track of their score. And I just walked around and gave them, just depending on the problem, gave them a specific number of minutes or seconds, depending on the question, to answer the problem, and they all had an equal opportunity to answer at the same time and earn those points. So it wasn't really, there were components of the Jeopardy game that I took, and then other components that I did specifically that I modified for the classroom. With that said, there's not much to vlog about. After school today, I'm going to tutor some students because they said they were going to come in. They have some last minute questions before they take their test on Wednesday. So with that said, I'm going to end here, and I will chat with you tomorrow. I have a minute before my advisory class begins. It's my planning period. I'm probably not going to vlog much today anyways because I'm suffering from allergies. I think it's a product I use in my hair. So I thought about taking a Benadryl, but I don't want to be like, you know, out of it during class time. So my B-Day classes are doing what my A-Day classes did last Friday. They're doing the how many moles in my signature lab. So it's going to be a relatively easy day. It's actually raining outside, but there's a cover outside in front of the building, so there's some sidewalk that they can ride on. And then other than that, the extension questions, my A-Day classes are testing tomorrow, and my B-Day classes test on Friday. I actually shot a couple of videos for the next unit during this period, but I won't have to worry about getting them ready until Monday because we're just testing for the rest of this week. So with that said, I'm going to end because the bell should be ringing like in a few seconds now. So I will talk to you all later. There it goes, right on time. It is Wednesday, and I actually want to get ready to go home. I shot this earlier, and then I realized that I was out of focus the entire time, and it's going on 5:50. So not too much. My A-Day students took their tests today. I had a student stay after fourth period because they still needed extra time, so I stayed to allow them to do that. And then I had some of my B-Day students come in because they wanted to get some help because they take their tests on Friday. Tomorrow, my B-Day classes, they're going to play the Chem Jeopardy, so I don't have to prepare for that because I already have the file made, and then they take their test on Friday. I'll explain a little bit more tomorrow, the testing structure that I had and how I arranged my room to have the students test. But with that said, I'm going to go home and I will talk to you all tomorrow. It is 6:26 p.m. Thursday, February 8th. I'm here this late because I had a group of students, over like a dozen students, come in for tutoring. My BA classes, they take their test tomorrow. I had a student in one of my AD classes who was absent, who needed to make up the test. And then other students, for a variety of reasons, in the last group left about 20 minutes ago. So I'm gonna actually get ready to head out. I know I said yesterday I was gonna talk about how I set up the test, so I'm gonna have to just do that tomorrow because I'll be here longer than I wanna be. With that said, I'm going to head home and I will talk a little bit more tomorrow, so I will chat with you later. TGIF, it is the end of the school day. It's 5 o'clock. If you hear the beeping noise, the alarm panel outside is going crazy again. So let me talk about how I did my test, since I've been alluding to that or saying that I was gonna get to that all week, and then I've been staying late. So I gave my students yesterday and today, they tested, and I put 3 tests into one. So there were 3 main topics that, or I guess units if you will, that were covered this grading period. So the first one happened to be waves and light calculations, electron configuration, and quantum numbers. That was the second one. And then the third one happened to be the mole, which I'm going to extend it into the next unit on some other topics that students will be learning about. So what I'm most likely going to do is, based on how they did on the test, because the way I set up my gradebook, I set it up by topic title. So for example, electron configuration and quantum numbers, they had a quiz titled that, they had an exit ticket titled that, they had a warm-up titled that, and a test now titled that. And so depending on how they did on the test, I'm going to go back and, if they scored higher, change their grades on those other assignments that were titled after that particular topic to that grade. I haven't graded all the tests yet for my BA classes. So far for my 8A classes, I haven't had a situation where a student scored lower on the test than any of the other areas. Hopefully by the time they get to the test, they are at least somewhat proficient, or even if they failed that section, they're stronger than they were when they were learning about it. I also did tell my students that if they failed this current grading period, what I would do is, if they can demonstrate mastery throughout the upcoming weeks, that I would go back and initiate a grade change, because I can take, for example, if we're going to be doing the mole and we're extending the mole into other topics in the next coming weeks. So if they can demonstrate that they understand the mole and simple or basic mole calculations, then I'll go back and I'll enter or replace previous grades in the grade book with updated grades, so that way I can do a grade change. So many of the students were appreciative of that, and just kind of had to talk to some students who, based on this time last semester, at the end of each grading period, I had less students come and ask me about what they can do to change their grade or get extra points, like 2 percentage points to passing, or if they can make up work. I had about less than 5 students actually ask me or hint at trying to change a grade. And I just had to sit down with them and talk to them about, you know, the fact that they had these extended time limits or deadlines for turning in assignments, or I let them know ahead of in advance. Sorry, that thing is driving me crazy, and I hear people out there like shouting in advance about coming in to get help. And you know, one student was like, "Oh, I didn't know that you had tutoring." Even though, like I say, in every class I have tutoring, I stand up at the board and I point, "I'll be here on this date." On Canvas, I put it in there like, "I will be tutoring on these dates." And then one student didn't do the homework and then tried to say like, "Oh, I didn't know we had a homework assignment," even though every class period, "Okay guys, don't forget you have a homework assignment." When I send out a message through to remind, "Don't forget the homework assignment, you have 1 week, the deadline is approaching." So and I think both of those students, in those cases, they realized that, like, once I was being logical with them, they're like, "Okay, yeah, you got me on that." So, and also let me clarify a little bit more on the homework system that I'm doing. I know I keep saying that it seems to be working, so let me clarify a little bit more. It seems to be working for a majority of students. There are just, again, are a few students that are trying to, you know, at this point use excuses for why they can't do things. And so like I'm always willing to sit down with the student and work one-on-one, and also on a case-by-case basis. So if something is going on and there's a reason why you can't get the homework done, I don't need to know the specific reason, like if you're uncomfortable saying that, but at least come talk to me and say, hey, you know, Elias, there's going to be an issue with me trying to get the homework in. Is there any way that I can get an extension? The whole point is to try to get the students to advocate for themselves versus coming to see me on the last day of a grading period or the last day that an assignment is due and try to let me know at that point. It's like, no, come see me early on, go talk to your teachers early on, advocate for yourself, seek help. And I understand because I was that quiet, shy student in school. I dealt with anxiety. I still deal with anxiety in my personal life. And so I understand students that deal with, you know, being shy, being anxious. So that's why I'm always pushing like, hey, come see me. I'm available after school, during lunch, etc. Anyway, I am going to go home. It is 5:05 and that is my week. There's some other stuff that I wanted to talk about, but it's been a long week because of it's the end of the grading period. So I've been staying to help students, and many of the students who came for tutoring did exceptionally well, or they did better than they previously have done on prior exams. So they seem happy about it. I'm happy about it, but now it's just trying to figure out how can I reach that other group of students that still are struggling in my class. So that's what I'm going to do over the weekend, is try to brainstorm going into the next unit. With that said, I am going to head home and I will chat with you all next week. Well, that's it. If there's anything about this video that you like, then make sure to hit that like button, comment down below, and or share the video. If you haven't already done so, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that way you can bond with James. And if you're interested in checking out some of my other clips, you can do so by clicking on any of the links right here. As always, thanks for watching.